Hello, welcome back to another another Tuesday night live stream. This is a special Tuesday night live stream. I'm sure most of you plan on being here last Tuesday, but well, sometimes life gets in the way. So we'll talk about that briefly, just give you an update on some things, and then hopefully going to dive into the topic for the night, which is inside pfSense. I have spun up a virtualized pfSense, copied over all my configuration, and then basically sanitized it because there's IP addresses and names that I don't want to show. So I've kind of removed those. But we can walk through kind of how I use pfSense, why I use pfSense, some of the reasons that I think you should if you don't. But my computer is just dinging, dinging, dinging. So anyway, so let's get started. Let's see who's here. Toro is here. Oh, welcome in, Toro. David is here. Nils is here. Welcome in. Clear Life Media, welcome. Eric, Tony. The audio probably is a little hot. I feel like I'm kind of yelling. So, how is that, David? Is that better? I'm kind of right in this microphone too. So let me know how the audio is now. If it's still too hot, let me know. Yeah, mic is hot. Okay. I don't know what I would have changed, but yeah, I see in my VU meters. There we go. It's just about yellow. Still bloody? Okay. It's only hitting the yellow. It's not hitting anything in the red, so. Joe says he could not find the stream was not in subscriptions. That's interesting. I don't know why that would be the case. So, alrighty. Well, so like I said, so let's just kind of let's just go back a week, or actually to before Christmas, and kind of just have a conversation about life and work. And so, better, but I can't hear anymore. Oh, Tony has sent you the link. Okay. So last Friday, I took a vacation day to start my extended holiday break. And the first thing, I'm off on Friday and I'm like, great, we're going to have a great holiday weekend. And my phone rings and there's no audio on the audio board at work. And it's like 3:15, 3:30. We have a newscast at 4, so like this is kind of crunch time. Yes, it was dinging because Tony and Joe were sending messages back and forth on Signal. So, phone call rings, no audio on the audio board. We try a couple things over the phone. It's not working, so off to work I go. And I get to work. We have to reboot the audio board, not just the audio board, but the brain. So we have a Dante-based audio system. There's a Surface, and then there's actually like a computer that's the brain that does all the actual processing and mixing. That had crashed, and no one kind of noticed that, so we had to reboot that. And we don't have to reboot it very often, but occasionally we have to. And so that was what we had to do on Friday. We lost 32 minutes of our newscast. It was not fun, but 'tis the life. So, okay, there's my one emergency run to work, or at least so I thought. Woke up Saturday morning, get a phone call that the alarm panel is squealing like crazy and they can't get it to shut off, the security alarm. So, okay, well, that's kind of weird. So off to work I go again Saturday morning, and I can't figure out why it's squealing or squealing. So I do what anybody does. I pull the panel off the wall, unplug it, and say, we're moving forward because we have two panels. The one was working, the one wasn't. So I said, I'm just going to ignore that panel. We don't need it right now. So let's just unplug that panel and move on. So in 24 hours on my vacation and weekend, I'm already at work twice. So then we have a holiday weekend, plan where we have a family gathering. Have to cancel that because of COVID in the family. Sunday comes around, I'm watching football. We have dinner, and all of a sudden, I have this weird feeling in my chest. And so Haley looks at me and she goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't feel good. My chest hurts." And the one thing you shouldn't do is mess around with chest pain. So we waited like 5 minutes. It didn't get better. So off to the hospital we went. And I'm not going to get into the whole story, but basically I go to the hospital by, I would say, midnight, 2 a.m. I feel better, but they can't explain why I felt bad. Of course, now it's Christmas and there's nobody there to do any testing other than the basic, blood test and whatnot. So I have to wait until Tuesday morning to get a echo done on my heart. That comes back negative. So I finally get released with hypertension. Basically, high blood pressure, stress, anxiety, everything was just kind of built up and boom. So, alrighty, well, good. I'm going home. So I didn't leave the hospital last Tuesday until probably 5:30. So there was no way I was going to come home and do a live stream. There was no way that was going to happen. Some more family members get diagnosed with COVID. One's in the hospital. So we have a whole bunch of hospital visits and whatnot. All week long, we canceled the party again that we had rescheduled due to COVID. And I swear it's like 2020 all over again. Only I think I know more people now with COVID than I did at any one point in 2020. Like, it's a weird, situation. So New Year's Day comes around yesterday. I get a phone call. "Hey, the router's all green, the video router at work." And of course, we've been having this issue, so I knew what the problem was. So I called the maintenance guy and I'm like, "Hey, go to work, do the usual reboot. Let's see if it fixes it." Didn't fix it. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's not good." So I left the hospital that I was visiting and drove to work, and the router is essentially useless. You turn it on, it works for like 5 seconds, and then just poof, stops working and dies. So today was spent trying to figure out what we can do. Turns out one of our sister stations has a card that might work. They're overnighting it to us. So hopefully tomorrow I'll have good news that the router's back up and running and can finally take a breather. So that's basically the last week and a half in 5-minute synopsis. So hopefully you guys all had a better Christmas. I had a good Christmas. It just was not what we had planned. So anyway, I feel fine. I felt fine for a while. Just need to watch the blood pressure and stress and all that stuff, and things should be good. So let's go back to the chat and see what people are having to say. The reboot process for the brain, it's just a Linux machine. So it reboots in, I would say, a minute or two. But then it takes a while to kind of start talking again. And so we had to reboot the console or the Surface after the brain got rebooted. And then things started working beautifully. But yeah, it was not fun, that's for sure. Yeah, Joe. I don't recall that, but I don't recall much about the hospital. So, I recall certain things, but what happened with that, I don't recall. But you probably did. Yeah, no, the video router, there's only one of them. This is not like a video hub. Um, this is a six-figure router. There are not two of them, and there's like built-in redundancy for power supplies, and in theory, one card doesn't take the whole thing down, but that's exactly what's happening right now is that one card is taking the whole thing down. I would have hoped and would have thought that one card would only take out because it's a multi card router. So if you haven't seen a short that I posted the other day, go look at that and you can see the router that I'm talking about. And basically, each card supports 32 inputs or 32 outputs. And so you would hope that if a card died, you'd only lose 32 inputs or 32 outputs and not the whole frame or whole thing. But in this case, that router card is taking down the whole frame. So right now it's dead. So we actually made probably 10 or 15 video cables and have just kind of flown them over the ceiling. So usually our wires go underneath the floor, and so they're out of the way and all nice and neat. Now these cables are up to the ceiling grid, wire tied to the ceiling, and over down to where they need to be. We do that because they're temporary. They're designed to look bad. We don't want them permanently installed. We want them to be up there for the time being, and then we'll pull them out when we're done because we don't want to leave them up there. So the kind of temporary stuff goes overhead. The permanent stuff goes below. And so we should have that all figured out hopefully tomorrow. I'm really hoping that is the case. David, I wish it worked that way. I really did. Or I wish I do. Yeah, unfortunately, I already had the whole week off. Like, it was a planned vacation, and of course, it's the end of the year, so a PTO day is a PTO day, so, you know. Welcome in, David. Yeah, 6-digit routers. Yep, you can only have one. That is absolutely for sure. Joe was on the late shift. Tony was on the early shift. Yeah, lots of things happen at the holidays. Neil says it says redundant controller. Yeah, there are two controller cards in the router. There are 4 power supplies. You can lose up to 2 of them, I believe. So there is some redundancy, but apparently this one card is not redundant. I don't know. I'm curious to see how tomorrow goes. We'll just say that. David is 59 days from retirement. Well, that's cool. I'm like 59 years from retirement. Okay, that's not true, but I mean, some days I feel like it. Oh, some days I feel like I'm never going to retire. And some days I wish it was tomorrow. So anyway, hopefully you guys are all doing okay. I am glad you are all here. Let me check out my stats. Currently 7 views, 4 likes. Hopefully we can get some more likes. Our Christmas was canceled too, and our Christmas Eve was ruined. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. So, I guess one thing, I'm moving this to Tuesday as kind of just a test. I kind of want to see how it does on a Tuesday. I know a couple of you have asked or suggested that I move it to Tuesdays. So I am curious, and maybe we'll just do a poll. Can I create a poll real quick? Poll. What do you prefer? Monday or Tuesday? So please vote in the poll. I'm curious what you guys think. Do you prefer Monday or Tuesday? Do you not care? Tuesday might work out better for me because I rarely have things on Tuesdays, where things tend to happen sometimes. So I probably will move it to Tuesday, but I know that kind of overlaps with Keith Bennett, who I know some of you guys watch. I don't think usually that's a big issue because it usually doesn't go past 9 o'clock, but just curious what you guys are thinking. So I got 8 votes, and on a 2-to-1 ratio, you guys prefer Tuesday. Okay. So I'm going to end the poll there. And so that says Tuesday. So we'll probably make Tuesday our usual thing going forward. Like I said, it probably works out better for me most of the time. So yes, Keith can sometimes go overtime. I think he is currently. Is he still broadcasting? I didn't check. I think he's probably still going. Oh yeah, looks like he's still going. So yeah, by the way, that's yeah. Sorry to step on you, Keith. David, did you get an accident? I don't know if I knew that or not. I don't think I did. Joe says he's still going, trying to watch both. That's why I voted for Monday. Tony says, love you, Jay, but if Keith does a post show with Ratso, well, I guess the show is always available on demand, and technically speaking, I'd benefit better if you guys watched the video on demand than you guys watching it live. However, I love the interaction, as I've said before, and I even mentioned this. If you guys didn't see me yesterday on Aaron Precky's stream, I was live on Aaron Precky, or no, I guess that was Sunday. I was live on Aaron Precky's channel for a while. YouTube for me is a fun hobby, and it's a way to meet people and communicate with people and just get to have a good community. It's not about the views or money or that kind of stuff. It's just more of a way for me to have fun with you guys and meet new people. And if the monetization comes one day, great, but it's not my goal. The fact that I currently have something like 1,300 subscribers is mind-blowing to me. It's 1,381 currently. I just think that's so cool, and I love hanging out with you guys. So to me, that's what YouTube's about. It's not about the views or monetization. So, I'm sorry to hear that, David. I'm really sorry. That's tough. That's really tough. So yeah, YouTube live chat is straight up fun. Eric, welcome in. I don't know if you were here before, Eric, so welcome in, Eric. Yeah, so cool. Glad Keith sent everybody over here. So we've spent 20 minutes talking about anything but pfSense, so let's talk about pfSense. I have, let me call this up for a second. I have, so again, I've said before, I have a physical pfSense router that is an old desktop. I have set up a virtual router on my XCP-NG system that it mimics my router, with one difference, that being it's virtualized. Actually, there's two differences, but we'll get to that in a second. And so I've copied my settings over, but I've changed a bunch of IP addresses and stuff. So if things don't look right, just know this is for demonstration purposes. This is not my production machine. So let's take a look at pfSense. Oh, I should probably go into why I use pfSense. I like pfSense because I like open source software. I like stuff that has a lot of features. Even if I don't use them all, I like to know that I can. I like to experiment with stuff. And pfSense allows you to go from a basic machine that just works out of the box to a full-blown multi-VLAN router capable of redundancy and failover and HA or high availability. You can do BGP routing in it. You can do WireGuard VPN, OpenVPN, IPsec tunnels. I mean, you name it. This thing can do it. And I like that. And it's free and it's open source and it's got a model behind it, like a business model that actually I think is sustainable, because a lot of open source projects don't have that. They are thrown up out there and it's like, well, we'll just make money off donations or whatever it is. And it's like, that doesn't always work. And so Netgate, who makes pfSense, gives the software away for free and sells support. They sell appliances. They sell a subscription service if you want to, get certain features. So this product is probably going to stay around for a while because there's a business model behind it, but it's still out there and free to use. And to me, that is perfect. It's also why I use XCPNG, because it's, again, a free software solution that you can use, but you can use it in your enterprise and you can pay for support and you can have professional systems using this system, but you can also use it at home. And to me, I like that. I don't want a system that I use, I have to use VMware at work, but I can't use it at home because I can't afford the license. Like, no, I want a system that I could use in production and at home and in my home lab, and I could sell it to a client. I want a system that does all. And so that's why I use pfSense. That's why I use XCPNG. That's why I use TrueNAS. I think that's basically the big three software that I use. So that's why I use pfSense. Yes, I know there's OpenSense and all those other ones, but I guess I like what I like, and it's just kind of been here and I've used it, so I'm familiar with it. I know people say the GUI isn't very intuitive, and yeah, okay, there's some validity there, that the interface is not the greatest, but the feature set is, and you can learn an interface, and I've seen a lot worse interfaces. So, non-life-threatening injuries, that's good news. I'm sure it is stressful. Well wishes to you. I hope, hopefully everything comes out okay. Welcome in, Doug Force. Glad you're here. So let's take a look at my pfSense, if you will. Let's go to the PC. So this is pfSense Community Edition. This is the wrong. Hold on. That's the wrong one. Sorry. Let's try this. Sorry about that. All right, so this is the pfSense dashboard. I'm sure most of you have seen this, but if you haven't, this is how I keep my dashboard. Basically, a bunch of information about the machine itself, and then you have the ability to put traffic graphs up here. So I have, in this particular setup, I have a 4G internet connection. I have a couple VLANs set up, like my TV network is VLAN 440. My IoT network is VLAN 550. This is one thing I set up this weekend, which I think is pretty cool, which is a site-to-site VPN using a GLINet router. And then I called cable modem, but it's actually my normal LAN. You can see the services over here, which I like. And then in here you can see the gateways. And so this is any of the gateways defined on the router. So again, I have a 4G LTE connection and it's currently online. I have a cable modem and it's online. And then my site-to-site VPN is currently offline. And you have to have a gateway in order to route traffic. So that's why the VPN or the site-to-site gateway is actually underneath here because you have to have a gateway to send traffic to. I have this pfSense supports dynamic DNS, which I actually do use through a Google domain. It is not this address, obviously. It would report the IP address of the machine, and it would also check it. And basically, it'd be green if it matched, it'd be red if it's not. I think that's really cool that it can do that for you and basically tell you in a quick glance, yes, your DNS is being updated. I think that's very important and nice to have for sure. Down here, you can see the WireGuard tunnels. I have 2 of them. I have tunnel 0 and tunnel 1. Tunnel 0 is basically WireGuard clients like my phone or my laptop. And then I have a WireGuard site to site, like I said, for that GLI net. So I made them separate so that I can kind of have separate firewall rules. And we'll get to that in a second. So speaking of firewall rules and interfaces, I have a bunch of interfaces. Here's how you assign them. You basically can go in and you can set up VLANs. So under your VLANs column, I have, interface XN1. I have VLANs and give them descriptions. You can, in theory, set a priority, which I'm not sure what that would do, but I'm by no means a pfSense expert. I mean, I use it. I can do a couple cool things in it, but I am by far, I am not an expert. There are people like Tom Lawrence who do a lot more than I do. I usually watch his videos on how to do something because he's pretty good at pfSense and he uses it a lot better than I do. But it definitely is a cool product. Like I said, here's my interfaces. Under firewalls, I have a couple NAT rules. And again, I sanitize these, so information in here is not correct. But basically, yeah, I mean, Joe, I would guess under your VLANs, like you could set a priority. Yeah, VLAN priority. Probably should have something there. But I mean, it's my home network and there's not a whole lot going on any of these devices or on any of these VLANs. So, yeah, you're probably right. It is probably it's a QoS. It's a priority. So, doesn't say if 0 is the highest or 7 is the highest. I don't know. You would think it would say here. So yeah, so like I said, couple things I like about pfSense is you can create aliases, and again, these have been sanitized, but basically I have a whole group of IP addresses that I allow for external access. I don't open up my network to the whole world. I basically say if it comes from an external address, allow it. I also have local networks defined here, and you'll see why in a second. And then I use a U-Ray encoder to stream to the internet, and it, for some reason, likes to contact those 3 addresses. I have no idea why, so I block them. So yeah, so like I said, so I can type in aliases, I can make port groups and all kinds of stuff, and it makes writing these rules that we're going to look at really easy. So for port forwarding or, outside access, if this is basically locked down to a certain IP address, again, this is not the real address, but that allows me to come in and do SSH, and then I can come in with that same address on 1935 for streaming. And then I had this down here, and this is basically web or HTTP access. And I like these little separator lines where you can kind of define what each one is. So these are my normal port forwards, and then these are my testing rules. I used to have some more down here, and I don't have them anymore, so they're gone. But basically, I can make the rules down here and That way I kind of know, like, a quick glance, hey, are these permanent rules or are these rules that I'm currently testing with? Um, yes, Joe, I know you hate those U-rays. I actually don't use DNS exit. I use SMTP to go, and I think that is in here. It's probably not sanitized though, so I'll have to look at that when we get there. But yes, I do have my pfSense talking to SMTP to go to send me alerts. I did try DNS exit. The interface was kludgy, and I couldn't easily set up multiple logins. So I have set up different logins. No, SMTP to go was easier. Right? I think the SMTP was to go. We'll get there in a second, Joe. So here's my NATs. And then I have rules. And so here's kind of this would be my normal, on my other LAN, my normal one, this is the WAN connection. And basically it blocks all private networks. It blocks all unassigned, but of course every network's been assigned by this point, so this rule is kind of pointless. And then you see here's my restricted access. So these are my rules that I basically say only external addresses or hard-coded IP addresses can come in. So even though I'm opening port 443, yeah, DNS exit looks like a website from 2005. I thought it was horrible. And it just seemed kludgy, and it didn't allow you to customize things. So, oh yeah, so there you found the message. So anyway, so like I said, so here's my WAN rules. And so, again, I have a list of IP addresses and locations, and I like how in pfSense you can click on or hover over things and it'll kind of tell you what's here. So to me, that is really nice that I can just kind of see what these aliases are. I should probably make these addresses an alias, but it's always the same address, so therefore not a big deal. And then these are open to everywhere because I can WireGuard from any place, like my phone or my laptop. I have to open these to the whole world, so I do. But those are the only things that are open up to the whole world. Then I have a couple other rules that I basically do on, let's say, an IoT network. And this gets interesting. So this is kind of weird. So it took me a little bit to wrap my head around what this is doing. So this is my IoT network. So you saw my WAN. This is publicly exposed. We'll get to here in a second. This is my LAN. Actually, we probably should start here first. Sorry about that. So this is my LAN. So I call it VLAN 110, and I have to cough for a second, so hold on. Sorry about that. So this is my LAN. So the first rule you're going to run into on any LAN is basically your anti-lockout rule. So my pfSense runs a different port than the standard one, so I had to make sure that this was allowed, and this is so you don't lock yourself out of the interface. Then I basically allow DNS, and this is just for me kind of testing things. This wasn't really like a good system, but basically I allow DNS if it's going to this address. If a DNS is going anywhere else, I block it. Now these rules are processed from top to bottom. So this rule is processed, then this one, then this one, then this one. So if a DNS request comes in, it skips here, it goes here and says, is this for the IP address of the LAN interface? If it is, allow it. If it's not, block it. And so this is basically making it so you have to use my DNS server, and if you have malware or if you have something else that changed the DNS entry on a machine, it would go nowhere. And then this is the same thing, but only DNS over TLS. Allow it if it comes here, and then block it if it's here, and then whatever else is happening on the network, allow it. And so since DNS will be stuck here, it'll be blocked if it's outbound anywhere else, but then allow to here. And that was kind of a quick overview, but the one thing I like about pfSense is you can get really deep down in the weeds, and you can allow certain things here and not there. And, one of the things I do not like, about Unify is they try to make it stupid simple to work, and it's like, but I don't want it to be stupid simple. I want to have the advanced features. Now, I don't have to use them, but I want them to be there. And so that is why I go with a product like this, because I can make these rules where I can allow DNS to this address, but not this one. I could allow Google, but only Google. I can get deep down in the weeds. Yes, David, I only need one lockout rule. But I also only want to be able to access the pfSense from the LAN. So I don't want any of my subnets other than my LAN to be able to access pfSense. So if you look at like my IoT network, this allows DNS to this on this subnet. It allows DNS over TLS on this subnet. And then this was actually a rule that I worked with Bob Carpenter on a little bit, and I would kind of wish he was here. This is basically allow everything except. So this is allow all except is what I call it. And if we look at that rule specifically, it's basically say allow traffic to pass that comes from anywhere, but only if it does not match the local networks. And if you go back to here, you'll see all the local networks are laid out. So basically, this is saying you can allow traffic on the IoT network to go to the internet, but you cannot allow it to go to the list of addresses in this alias. So it cannot go to my LAN. It cannot go to my guest network. It cannot go to the TV network. It can't go to the DMZ network. Like you say, it allows you to go anywhere except these. And so that keeps all my IoT devices from getting anywhere on my network. And the beauty is, let's say, I added I added a network, so my local network. So I don't want it to go to my WireGuard. So I can put in my WireGuard subnet. And hit save. And then apply. And if I go back to my rules, why is this taking so long? I hope I didn't just lock myself out. No, I can't. This is weird. Oh, there we go. So now if I look at my subnet here, now you see my WireGuard. So I added let's say I added another network. I add it in one place, I add it to the alias, and automatically now my IoT network cannot get to my WireGuard network because it is being blocked, and I added it in one place. So that's how I kind of do my IoT network. I have a DMZ network, or what is called an ODMZ, like an outside DMZ, because DMZs aren't really. I hate the idea of DMZs, like just open a certain port to the outside world, But this is where I would put. I should say, this is where I should be putting my servers that I allow port forwarding to. so that the servers exist on a separate network. So should they get hacked, they can't go anywhere else. Kind of like the IoT network. And if I wanted to do that, this is pretty easy. So I can go here. Actually, can I do? Yeah, I can do all three of these. I can hit copy, and I could take these to the ODMZ network and then paste them. And now my rules are over here. And then I can apply them. And now I copied the rules from the IoT network to the DMZ network. And because I enabled rule translation, this changed this network, this destination. So I just copied rules over to another network and didn't have to like recreate the rules. And so that's a cool feature that I have not really used a lot, but I have been recently. And I think that's a really cool way to just copy rules back and forth. And again, because this rule's here, now anything on my DMZ cannot go anywhere else or can go anywhere but another network. So this is where my servers that are accessible to the outside world, like my Nextcloud, should be living. They are currently not, but they should be living here. I need to change that. So let's just come back on camera for a second. Any questions so far? Anything that you guys want me to explain further before I keep going? Again, this is just kind of how I use it. This is not a tutorial any way, shape, or form. This is just kind of an illustration of, hey, look at what is there. And I totally forgot to record this live stream. Crap. I was actually so I had envisioned, and I wish I would have done this before, I envisioned me walking through this and doing a recording and then taking the recording and editing it down to a 10-minute video where I could just upload it as a new upload and hopefully get some views, because I am like this close to monetization and I just want some views. I know I said earlier that's not about the monetization, and it's not, but I just wish I had monetization. I just, I'm like I'm like 200 hours away. So let's look at what you guys wrote. pfSense will enforce an anti-lockout rule on at least one of your interfaces. Okay, I didn't actually know that. That's good to know. An alternative to that rule you created an alias network is allowed is an alternative rules created a rule with an alias of networks that are allowed anywhere, but only out the gateway. I don't think I follow, David. I'm sorry if I am missing what you're saying. Yeah, I don't. I guess I'm not following. Yeah, I probably meant ODMZ. Seems pretty good. Good. So glad you guys are following along. So let's go back and take a look and get that off the screen. So there are floating rules, as David alluded to. I don't have a lot of experience with floating rules. I think if I'm not mistaken, they apply everywhere. And that could be a good thing. That could also, I feel like, be a bad thing. So maybe it's just me, but I feel like doing the rules on each subnet is much cleaner and more concise. But again, you can use this however you see fit. So, yeah, so they're basically, and these networks, if you notice, they're all the same. So, my IoT network, my guest network that not a single person ever uses. I'm not sure why I even have a guest network, because I never use it. Notice these are all set up the same way. You basically allow DNS, and then you basically block everyone's access everywhere else. Hi, honey. My wife just came down. Oh, good. The one exception to, like I said before, is I have a U-Ray block list. And so in my TV network, which is what I'm currently sitting on with all my TV gear, is if anything tries to go to these addresses, it'll be blocked immediately. And then everything else can pass. And when I put this on my real network, this counter over here just started ticking. Like it was like ding, ding, ding. Like it was just kind of crazy. So I'm glad I'm blocking whatever it's doing, and it's just doing basic DNS lookups. But I'm not sure why it keeps trying to do the same DNS lookup over and over again. So I blocked it, and Haley is doing the block symbol with her hands. She says, hi, everybody. The guest network from Pouring the Plumber needs Wi-Fi. Do you ever have plumbers over that need Wi-Fi? That's a good one, hun. I'm not sure if I want to repeat that, but that was good. So, yeah. So here's my, like I said, here's how I do a block list so I can block certain things. This could be a certain port. This could be an address. This could be a site, whatever it is you want to block. Here's how you can implement a very basic block list. I would not do this if I wanted to block, certain websites. I would go get use a plugin. But these are very specific sites that I want to block, and therefore it's easy for me to make a block list right here on the interface itself. So that's it for firewalls. I don't do anything with traffic shaping or whatever it is. pfSense supports the ability to do virtual IP addresses. So if you happen to be blessed with more than one public IP address, you can come in here and you could tell it, hey, on this address, I want you to add, whatever. I'm not sure why it won't let me do it here. Single address. Oh, IP alias. So here I could type in, let's say I had 1.1.1.1 and .2. So I could come in here and I could say, okay, add this virtual IP address to my pfSense, and then create rules based on what IP address things are coming into. I think that's pretty damn cool. I don't obviously use that, but man, I wish I had more IP addresses, because I would, I would love to be able to do that. So services. What services do I run? Well, I have this generate certificates with Acme. I'm not sure what I would see if I did that, so I'm going to not do that right now. It has built-in DHCP servers. It has DNS forwarding, resolving, dynamic DNS, HA proxy, so this is actually a cool thing where this acts as a proxy for my Nextcloud. Again, I've sanitized the data here, but basically, if you come in from the outside world, this is what you hit, and then this machine goes to Nextcloud and gets the data and sends it back to my client in the field. This allows the firewall to have the SSL certificate and do the renewals, and the Nextcloud server just sits there and runs, and it never has to worry about getting new certificates or being truly exposed to the internet, because HA proxy is what's being exposed to the internet, not the server itself. So if Nextcloud has a security issue, depending upon what kind of issue it is, HA proxy may filter that and therefore not allow it to be exposed. So there's a level of security you get with this. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it. I watched Tom Lawrence's video on how to set it up. I think it's pretty cool. I actually, for fun, I just do an internal website here, which is again this 303 North is just my internal domain, and I just forward it to a different back end for fun. So this has the ability to do proxies for websites, and I think that's a pretty cool service that this thing offers. It can be your NTP server. It can do Wake on LAN and all kinds of stuff. It can do a captive portal for a guest network. I played with captive portal. It works. Not really a big fan of it because it seems kind of stupid, but I mean, it does do it. It worked. I just was not a fan of it. It does support VPN. I used to use OpenVPN. Now I use WireGuard. And so I have two, like I said, I have two WireGuards. I have one for my clients and one for site to site. If you're on one of the WireGuard clients, I should probably change that IP. Well, you can't see the whole thing. And yeah. So, if you're a WireGuard client, you're on the 172.16.16 subnet. If you're connecting, only the one router connects to this network and it goes to the interface. Because, like I said, on the rules, you have WireGuard, and that allows all traffic, to go anywhere. But on my site-to-site, I could sit here and allow certain things to go across the site-to-site VPN that I would not allow for a client VPN. So I could enforce, let's say, the DNS rule here. But I could make it so my site-to-site VPN doesn't have to do that. So that's why I separated out my WireGuard into two different kinds, one for clients and one for site-to-site. So I like WireGuard. It is definitely not. So one of the things about WireGuard is it's kind of straightforward, but it's not exactly. You kind of need to manage private and public keys, and pfSense won't generate a private key when you make a new peer, which I think is kind of weird, but then again, whatever. So, but I like WireGuard. I used to use OpenVPN, but I always had issues with OpenVPN, with the client not working or whatever it was. The WireGuard client, whether it's my phone or my laptop, is very lightweight, and you just copy and paste the configuration in and it works. There's no having to export a VPN, OpenVPN thing. So I love WireGuard in terms of the simplicity and ease of use, but also that ease of use kind of, having to manage your keys can be a problem if you are a big entity. For me, who does everything and owns it all, like, it's not a big deal to make a notepad or a OneNote, if you will, and make a couple private keys and public keys and have them associated together and just be able to go like, okay, I need a new client. There's a private key, paste. There's a public key, paste, and have it work. So there are pros and cons. I do not use Tailscale or any of those ones. I played around with them years ago, but I don't really have the need for those. Any place that I would go would block those anyway. So it's not like I'm not gonna get around something because they would block them anyway. And so the places I do go allow WireGuard. So therefore, I just go point to point. I don't need to do a Tailscale kind of thing. I think it's kind of cool, and it's a great concept, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like it's a whole. It's all that it's. Everyone's like, get a VPN and use this, and it's like, if I have to use a VPN, then I'm probably doing something I shouldn't. So I use a VPN to get to my home network. That's it. I don't try to watch content from Britain. I don't try to watch stuff from Canada or wherever it is. I just use a VPN so that I can get into my home network if I need to, and really only I access my home network for is Nextcloud. So don't even necessarily need to do that. unless I'm somewhere where I'm not allowing it, then I need to VPN in. So, yeah. So David says, my black hole VLAN rule, allow any to this firewall, inverted check with a WAN gateway selected under advanced section. This will only allow your IoT devices to the internet, but nothing else. Oh. Allow any to this firewall with a WAN gateway selected. Okay. So you're saying under rules, let's just go to here. So we're going to disable this rule. And then we're going to hide your chat for a second. Add a rule. This is a lot usually faster. I'm not sure if this is the virtual machine or because I have a whole lot of things on this network that are probably not configured correctly. So you're saying allow any to this firewall to this firewall invert with a WAN gateway underneath advanced. So if I have to save that, so is that what you're saying, David? Oh, probably not exactly what you're saying because I think I messed up part of this. So is that what you're saying, David? Allow any that's not the firewall itself out that gateway? Okay. Well, that's cool. I might give that a shot. That does seem dramatically easier. And doesn't allow me to change the rules. No, that would make sense. And see, this is why I wanted to do this, because I'm not an expert. There are maybe better ways or more creative ways to do things, and David just gave me one. So, thank you. I don't have a way to test this because I'm not on this network. This is just I would have to change my IP address to point to this firewall, and well, this firewall doesn't actually have internet access. So, but I will give that a shot. I will definitely test that on my real network. Actually, I could. Let me just go on my actual one. I'm not going to show this to you, but on my actual one, go to, let's see here. Go to firewall rules, TV, edit the rule, pass any, this firewall itself, invert match, save. Oh, this could be dangerous because if this doesn't work, I'm going to lose the stream. Yeah, that didn't work. Interesting. Does it work now? Hopefully you're all back. So that didn't work. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I never mind. I know what I did wrong. I forgot to select the gateway. All right, let's just try it. Let's try it now. Let's see if this works. Because now I actually have the gate. Hopefully we're back. I don't think that rule works. All right, it says excellent conditions, so I think we're back. Yeah, I will have to play with that rule, but not on a live stream because I tried it twice and it did not work. So it's breaking something. Oh, it's because the DNS. I don't have any. I need to allow DNS because it's always DNS. You've heard that saying before. That's why, because there was no DNS because it was only my internal DNS works, and therefore everything was pointing internally. So when you block access to the firewall, you also block access to DNS. So you must not use internal DNS, or no, you must only be using like Google or something, or you have a different DNS server on the network. I don't know, but that's why that didn't work. Yep, that's what it is. You allowed DNS, so it was working. It just didn't allow DNS. So see, we did it live. We had fun. Black hole VLAN. Yeah. So let's go. So one of the things I do or was playing around with, and the one thing I like about this too is underneath. This is kind of where the weird rules come in, or the weird layout setup works, because under routing, under gateways. So we were talking about failover groups, or dual WAN configuration. So for this and for some testing that I was doing, I actually set up a failover group. And so under gateway groups, you basically come in here and you pick all your interfaces, or the interfaces you want to use. In this case, I wanted 4G and cable modem, and this is actually backwards. And then I basically said, okay, I want to use these two gateways, and then I want to fail over on down, which actually I feel like yeah, that probably would work. And so I can go in here and say, go at the cable modem first, but if that's down, use my LG or my LTE connection. And then this isn't fully set up yet because like I said, I was just working on this today. But basically, under the groups or under the firewall rules, because I don't have dual WAN right now, but if you watch the Aaron Parecki live stream, you know what I'm going to talk about next. So I joined Aaron Parecki's live stream, and we are like 2 minutes in to the segment, or the interview, if you will, and I lost internet connection. My whole internet, just the whole house, just lost internet connection. So I ran upstairs and I said, "We lost the internet." And Haley goes, "Yep, we lost the internet." Like, she noticed it too, and I was like, "Crap! I just went live." Like, so I had to grab a hotspot, come back down, and connect the Zoom box to the hotspot so I can get back up on with Aaron. And then, like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes later, I noticed that my internet was working again. So I don't know what happened with that, but so it has me really interested in failover now, because I've obviously been burned now once, by internet going down. And the funny part was in that stream is he's talking about networking to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good at networking, and then boom, like it went off. It was like, wow, God, you got funny timing because so I was actually playing with this failover setup last week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago now, because before I went in the hospital, and then I want to have this box set up again and do some more testing because I'd love to be able to have a second WAN connection for nights like tonight when I'm streaming. I could, plug in my phone or hotspot it or whatever it is, and have a second WAN connection for my encoder, so that if I were to lose my internet connection, I could at least have my encoder go out a second connection or whatever it is, and do this. So I was like, crap, this is now more relevant than ever, and so I got to figure something out to have a backup for when I'm streaming, because I obviously was burned by that, and I don't want to be burned again. Tony, who I know was here at one point, I'm not sure if he's still here or not. Tony got a T-Mobile, home internet, like for $50, like they advertise on TV, and he said he tried streaming with that and it didn't work very well. So I don't know if that's because where Tony lived. I need to ask Tony more about that. I think he got good speed. Joe, you might remember if Tony's not here. Was his a latency issue or was it a speed issue? Let me know if you remember, Joe, what his exact issue was with T-Mobile. But so I'm not sure if I'm going to go with that. I do know that I tested Mint Mobile, which uses T-Mobile's network, and Mint Mobile was better in every aspect than Verizon was around here. So, and Mint Mobile's like $15 a month. So I may figure out a way to do Mint Mobile. I don't know. We'll figure out something, but I definitely need to investigate that. So, this whole failover group that I was playing around with is definitely going to come in handy. And basically what you do for this is on your WAN right here where you're going to go out, where this is your default allow rule, you would come down here and into the advanced section, you would say gateway, and then you'd choose your failover. And so now any traffic would go out the failover gateway, and therefore, if your one gateway was down, it would fail over and you would still have traffic. Now the question becomes is how fast does it take to recover? How fast does it know? I don't know. I tested it once and I haven't tested it since. I need to do more work on that. But actually we could go test it right now. So I'm gonna go unplug my LTE modem connection. We'll just see how fast it detects it. So I just unplugged it. And you see that it's detecting the packet loss. And now it says it's offline. So that was actually pretty good. This has a diagnostic tool. Ping. So what if we did this is kind of not a great example, but what if we just did this? Well, that's not going to work because this doesn't have internet right now. Never mind. But you can see how now it knows this is off, and it would be using this connection now and not that one. So let me go plug it in and see how fast it detects the recovery. I plugged it in. And it's kind of a little bit slower to respond to it coming back. That's definitely taking a while. I would have thought it'd be quicker than that. I guess maybe because I'm doing packet loss and not just down. Although it seemed to notice it was down pretty fast. All right, so let's go back to the chat. I probably missed some things. So David says, yeah, his DNS rule was first. The timing was hilarious. You spoke so confidently. Yeah, I'm sure I did. I'll have to go back and watch it. Joe says, how about the Mr. Net box? Yeah. Yeah, are you offering to donate one? Joe says, I wish I had that kind of money. I would. Yeah, the box is cool. It definitely requires a commitment of money. That's for sure. I could definitely see where it'd be better than a Teradek bonding solution. You can set the WAN failover threshold. Oh, okay. You can set the WAN failover threshold. Am I missing something? I don't know. Is this like? I don't. I guess I'm not seeing where you set the threshold. Or is this somewhere else that I'm not aware of? Because again, I'm not an expert in this. Yeah, I don't see where you would do that at. Oh, it's not. That's well, that explains that. Joe says it's not in the gateway group selection. Well, that okay. Is it under advanced? Again, I'm not sure why this is taking so long to respond. It's just a virtual machine with a good amount of capacity, so I'm not sure why it's so slow. Probably under networking, I'm guessing. Oh, yeah, I gotta share about that too for a second. Uh, this is not actually mounted to the wall. This is my XCP NG machine that's got dual Xeons. Um, what was I gonna say? I was just so thing I've learned in this little pfSense realm is underneath here it tells you that the ISC is deprecated. Well, so I switched to the, is it Kia? Key? I'm not sure how you do this. I switched to this. Don't do it. If you have pfSense, don't switch to this um, Kia or whatever DHCP. All my stuff stopped working because um, clients of DHCP clients will not be entered in DNS if you switch to that new system. For some reason, they rolled out DHCP and that feature is not available yet. So if you rely on DNS resolution of local clients, even though it's telling you, this feature is deprecated, please switch over. Don't do it. It will break things and you will go, I wonder why. And you won't know until you go read NetGate's notes where it's like, if you rely on this feature, don't switch. And you're like, well, maybe you should put that in the prompt, because that was a rabbit hole I went down and was very annoyed until I figured out what the hell it was. So, oh, hey, Bob, welcome in. Yeah, the key or whatever you want to call it is not done. It may work, but not that feature. And I think there was like 6 other things listed that it didn't work yet. So take that for take that for what it's worth. Yeah, I was not happy. And Toro, I totally missed your comment up about IPv6. I tried to get IPv6 on my machine. It doesn't work, or at least it didn't work. It got an IP address from my provider, but it can never get the subnet. I forget IPv6 nomenclature, but basically it could never get the right subnet to pass on to the clients. So the router would get an IP address, but none of my clients would get the right subnet or prefix, or I forget what you call it. You probably know what I'm talking about, but like prefix. I couldn't get a prefix to pass on to the clients, and so it didn't work. I don't know where that is breaking down. It probably is breaking down in the this relay section. It probably is somewhere in here, or I wasn't making the right request. I don't know. So if you know how to make pfSense work with DHCP, with IP version 6, please hit me up. I would love to try it. I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I don't really want IPv6. I don't think it's worth it because we have IP addresses and that's fine with me. But I also understand where that is the future, and I wouldn't mind playing with it. In fact, David, I did Google my ISP in version 6, and I got some people saying it worked, and some people said it didn't work. So I don't know. Like I said, my pfSense box can get the IP address, and I ask for a prefix, but I never get the prefix, or at least I don't think I was getting the prefix correctly. So, yeah. So, I mean, I would love to play with it again, and maybe we can, if Toro, you can hit me up offline and help me. Maybe we can do a stream about IPv6 next week. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But yeah. So, are there any other questions? Bob, I'm glad you made it. Sorry you missed the first part. One thing, Bob, that we were discussing, I don't know if you were here for or not, but I think it's kind of cool. We were talking about the rules for things like the IoT network, and this is how we were doing it. All allow, all accept. And David pointed out you can do it with this rule, and then therefore you don't need to maintain a list of aliases. So I, of course, tried that on my production firewall and then lost the stream because I did not enable DNS. So nothing resolved. Although I probably should have cached it. Not quite sure why I didn't cache it. So that's a good question, too. Bob says, let's go back to here. Bob says his modem doesn't pass IPv6 in transparent mode. Toro says, don't use your modem then. Well, Bob, you have two ISPs, so both of them don't pass? Or could you get IPv6 from one ISP and like IPv4 from a different one? That'd be interesting. Like, that would be kind of interesting to see. Like, can I go out two different ISPs for different IP versions? David says, with Comcast, it works out of the box. Essentially, I had to tunnel over IPv4. Yeah, I don't want to do any kind of weird tunnels. So, for the reference, or for those who you care, I have Spectrum internet here. I don't know if that helps you in any way, shape, or form, Toro, or if you know, David, if Spectrum has an issue with that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not big on IPv6, but I would like to at least play with it, have a better concept of it. All my machines, by default, I just turn off IPv6 on all my machines, like Windows and stuff, just because I don't want to have them getting IP addresses, but I wouldn't mind playing with it to see what happens. Oh, you use aliases for special things? Yeah. I think I might, like I said, I'll try his method. This firewall, but we'll see, because I don't want to use. Well, I guess it wouldn't matter. Depends on what it is. I guess for an IoT network, you probably would just allow it to use Google. I don't know. I'll play with it. Maybe follow up next week. All right. Any other questions, comments? And I forget, Toro, do you use pfSense? You probably do. I can't remember right now if you do or not. Yes, and David, I did Google IPv6, pfSense, and Spectrum, and I got weird, like, yeah, this will work, and then it never worked. So, out the gateway only. So wait, are you saying is this firewall right? This rule right here, the way it's presented right now, well, is that the way it needs to be? Because that's what I did on my production machine, and that did not work. But then again, I was not allowing DNS. Jason's Lab, welcome in. Use FortiGate. Yeah. Have you seen what? I don't. Have you seen? Maybe I missed. I'm not sure what that is applying to. So if that rule is correct, then why did mine break? I don't know. Let me look at my production one. any. Oh wait, no. Destination, this firewall, invert match. Save. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this offline to make sure it does in fact match. Oh, nope. I see that would have burned me again. Edit the rule. Specify the gateway. Let me add a DNS rule. Yeah, Toro, we can't. If you posted a rule, or I could. Here, let me do this, Toro. Now try it, Toro. I'm gonna have more moderators than I have people in the chat at some point because Bob's one, Tony's one, I think Joe's one. Yeah. Okay, so why is this thing not working? UDP DNS. Save. Only that now that I have allowed DNS. But it's going to get blocked. Hold on. I need to allow the firewall rule to only work for DNS. But it should be cached. I still don't understand why that doesn't work. All right, so Torobes. I feel like this looks familiar. I feel like this feels familiar, but I will check this out. Yeah, I definitely wanted to. My chat not working. What just happened? My chat just stopped working. That's weird. Interesting. Yes. No, I understand. 1.1.1 is just an address I put in there for demonstration purposes. I know that it's Cloudflare. David, I am in the only Discord that I actively participate in is the Aaron Parecki one. But my email is available on YouTube under the About section. So you can email me that way. I think you actually did email me before at one point. But either way, it's in the About section. Alrighty, so I will check Toro's link out. I'm going to try David's IP link or firewall rule. But if that doesn't work, then I will say good night, and hopefully you all enjoyed this. I will be back. I think I'm back next Tuesday. Let me look at my calendar. Yeah, I have nothing next Tuesday, so I should be back next Tuesday. Topic, who knows? We'll see. But I'm going to go try that firewall rule real quick. And if that doesn't work, we'll just call it a night. So let me enable that rule and disable my other rule, and we'll see what happens. All right, looks like that actually did work. Yeah, okay. So David's rule does work as long as I allow DNS. Oh, so there was gone there for a second. Probably when the firewall rule got put in place, all the states would probably have changed. So, but yes, this is using your rule, David. So if you see me, let me know. Let me see if actually traffic's flowing through, because this should tell me if this is working. But I mean, pinging 8.8.8. Oops. Or not. Oh, I blocked myself from seeing that rule. That does not going to work. So yeah, so this is definitely... Yeah, no, I'm that rule makes sense. It is easier, and for things like IoT and a guest network, I will probably switch to using that method. For other things, like Bob was saying, I do see where having a list of subnets could be helpful for certain situations. So I learned something. But yes, Toro and David, hit me up with pictures, screenshots, whatever it is you want me to look at for IPv6. I will try that for next week, and we can discuss that. Who knows? And yeah, so everyone have a good night. I truly do appreciate you all for being here, and see you next week.